I'll be your host, Josh Zabak, and your co-host,
Cesar Romero.
Today we want to take a second approach to our episode structure. I know the first one we went off and just kind of went at it just to get our feet wet, get in. Today we're going to come up with a little bit more of a theme on episode 2. We wanted to kind of talk a little bit about capitalism and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing in America. Oof. Why do you say oof?
Man, I feel like it depends on who you ask. That could be a loaded question, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
It can be.
But this day is like, you got to be careful who you ask anything. Anything's a loaded question. But yeah, man, so that's something that, different people are going to feel differently about it depending on their backgrounds, things like that. And so, yeah, definitely a good topic, man, that I want to talk about.
I think it's something that I believe in sometimes. I believe in not sometimes fully. And there's extremes of it, right?
Right.
There's a time that capitalism can be a good thing, which is like the freedom that you have in America to really set out on your own if you have a business structure. And that's where it gets a little iffy, right, wrong, or indifferent. I mean, you can basically be a con artist in today's economy in some form or fashion and still call it capitalism, and you're doing the right thing, which is a scary aspect of capitalism for me.
Yeah, I think there is too many scary aspects to it simply because of the lack of information or education, right? That's just naturally given to us. And so that's why it can be scary. Because I believe that there's whole entire industries that only exist because people are uneducated in some aspect or form about a specific subject.
For sure.
A lot of different industries where, it involves a salesperson, right?
Yeah.
And we both come from that background, so we both know what and understand what that means. So yeah, man, like I said, and for anyone, listening for the first time or tuning in, just a little overview about what we do, what we talk about. Always wanting to talk about important subjects, and especially related to money, because I feel like we have a lot of information between the two of us and everybody on our team that we want to share with people. So, hey, welcome to, the show. Welcome to the Money Talks podcast. Hope you enjoy it and learn something new. But yeah, we'll jump right back into it.
And I guess that's where we're supposed to say leave a like in the comment section, and also comment on if you think capitalism is good or bad. I'd be interested to see, the people that eventually come to look and watch our show and stuff like that, how they feel. You know?
Absolutely. Give us some feedback, ask some questions, and let us know. We're always willing to learn new things. I think that's one of our best attributes.
The attribute of a hustler, right? You got to be willing to adapt. That's the right salesman side of us. That's why I think we're having this talk on capitalism, because both of us come from some form or fashion of capitalism. So
right,
it's not bad. It's not bad all the time. It
right.
can be good.
Right. I think we're both firm believers capitalism is good. We're both business owners. And so, like I said, we both come from the same background and both learned a lot of things. And like I said, one thing that I've learned is something that I mentioned before, that I truly believe that there's a lot of industries that only exist because of the lack of education, or the lack of information that people have to begin with. And so it allows for, I want to say, salespeople or commission-based people, even though at the end of the day, almost any business is commission-based.
Sure.
Right.
We were talking about that the other day. It's like you talk about the pyramid, Yes, there's pyramid schemes. Like I understand Amway and stuff like that. But whenever you look at a pyramid, isn't every business a pyramid? Isn't there workers on the bottom that support the top, and the top is the owners and the managers, and you work, your way down? Everything's kind of a pyramid. But I think, what differentiates the layers of capitalism might be people. Everybody's different. If somebody wants to be a con artist of a salesman, not to say all sales guys are bad, because you need sales guys. We used to always have a saying in the window industry, a window doesn't sell itself. You can't send it in a house and it's like, hey, buy me, because you still need a salesman behind that transaction. But I think it's more like the cutthroat salespeople that are willing to sell to elderly people with dementia, Alzheimer's. I mean, it's sick, but there's people that make a living on that. I mean, look at the funeral world. I know people that have came from casket sales and that's dark when people are emotionally down and distraught and they're taking advantage of people, selling them, boxes that are like $500 for $10,000. But you were telling me your industry is a little bit different, I guess, how, your retirement planning and the structure set up. I mean, how's that kind of differentiate between what we came from, which is the window sale side of things?
I think the biggest difference is that there isn't like a direct exchange of money between my clients and I. Essentially, the way I like to think about it is the people in my industry and myself, we make our money for moving money, right? Anything costs money to move it. You need money to move dirt. You need to go rent a truck. You move it from one place to another.
Right.
It costs money to do that. It costs money to move any product. So money's really no different. And I think that, like I said, that there isn't a direct exchange, right, of money between me and the client, and I still get paid, and I'm doing something that the client I believe in is good for them on many different levels. And I think maybe because it's my industry in a minute, I'm like, I like the way I make money, right?
Right.
But I've been in different industries and experienced different things where what you were kind of just touching on, a cutthroat salesman, what makes a cutthroat salesman versus a good salesman versus a hustler and things
car
like that.
Sales guy.
Right. So that's what it is like I said, bringing information to people or to people who don't have it, right? And sometimes people end up looking for help or looking for information. They want to replace their windows or they want to buy a car. They pick up the phone, they find the company, they find somebody online who is in that industry. But usually the person who comes to see you is someone whose job it is to tell you that company or that product is the best, right? To make a sale, essentially.
Right.
Today I'm sharing a story that's close to my heart. It's about how a cunning salesman tricked my sweet grandma into a bad deal. So picture this, my grandma, who's the kindest soul you could ever meet, living in her cozy, well-loved home. She's always been cautious with her spending, but one day she got a knock on the door that would turn out to be more costly than she could have imagined. This salesman, let's call him Slick Rick, appeared on her doorstep with a smile that was a bit too shiny. He was there to talk about windows. Yes, windows. He spun tales about how her old windows were causing her energy bills to skyrocket, and how she was losing money every minute she didn't upgrade. Now, my grandma isn't one to dismiss advice, especially when it seems like it's coming from a professional. So she listened. Rick pulled out charts, graphs, and pictures of beautiful new windows that would supposedly save her a ton in energy costs. The catch? She had to sign the contract right then and there to get a once-in-a-lifetime discount. The pressure was on, and that's how Slick Rick works. He pushed and pushed, playing on her fear of missing out on a great deal. And in the heat of the moment, my grandma signed on the dotted line. Days later, when I visited her, she mentioned her new purchase. Alarm bells rang in my head. We looked over the contract together, and guess what? The terms were atrocious. The cost was way above normal. The warranty was sketchy at best, and the supposed savings on energy bills practically non-existent. I was furious. We tried to cancel, but the contract was ironclad. Slick Rick had made his commission, and my grandma was locked into paying for something she didn't even need. It was a classic case of a salesman taking advantage of someone's trust. So, what did we do? We learned from it. I helped Grandma manage the situation as best as we could, and we made sure to spread the word to prevent this from happening to others. We even consulted with legal aids to understand her rights better in such situations. What I want you to take away from this story is the importance of being cautious and doing your research, especially when deals seem too good to be true. Always consult someone you trust before making big decisions, and never let a salesman rush you into signing anything. Our grandparents have always looked out for us, and it's only right that we do the same for them. Let's ensure they're informed and protected from those who might not have their best interests at heart. Thanks for listening, everyone. Let's take care of each other out there. Stay tuned and subscribe for more stories and tips on how to navigate the tricky parts of life. Take care, and see you in the next video.
Like I said, a lot of people maybe don't realize that some industries work like that. But like I said, it's important to stay informed in anything that you're doing, right? As far as for like big purchases, big projects, anything like that. And like I said, being aware of what the people that are coming to your house are doing.
Right. And I think that's a big thing, like we were talking before, in terms of the sales industry on the Windows side of things, how unregulated it is. You know, it's not somebody coming to me because they saw a post and they're like, man, this guy knows how to make money. This guy is going to know how to invest my money the right way. Or say, hey, I'm getting XYZ paid out of my retirement. Maybe if I switch to another plan, like you said, you're more or less educating them about decisions that they can do with their money. Ours was predicated on first call close. You know, you would go into somebody's house who was mediocrely interested in Windows. I don't know if that's a word, but they're not too interested in Windows. And some random kid, teenage, knocked on their door and said, hey, have you ever thought about doing your Windows? And they're like, you know, I've thought about them. Oh, well, great. Let us have a sales rep come give you a free no obligation estimate. So in the future, you can call us back. But it's really not that. It's just to get a salesman's foot in the door. And once that salesman gets his foot in the door, like you said, it's a lack of education, because these sales guys are trained every single day. And I know it because I did it. You know, I would train these sales reps. We'd sit in conference rooms and we'd go through different scenarios of what a customer's going to say, and here's how you defeat that so you can get into that house to even pitch your product. Those people didn't wake up with the intention of, hey, I just want to move my money from here to make a little bit of extra APR at the end of the year. They were just like, I just wanted to see how much a window costs because I'm not educated. And now this guy's pushing them through the entire process, and he makes them think a $200 piece of plastic is worth $1,500, so he can pull a $500 commission per window. And when you're talking 20 windows, you're talking guys going in selling window projects for $30,000, $40,000, and they're making $10,000 on it, which is crazy. And the government doesn't regulate that. So they believe in the people. And these people are master deceivers because, like you said, no matter which product you're selling, it's like you believe in it at that time. I mean, when I believed in my product that I was selling, a window for $1,500, I could sell it to anybody. And I believed that that was valuable until I really educated myself, because capitalism keeps your mind. And that might be the one narrow side of it. Sometimes thinking what's better for you, not necessarily what's better for the customer, even if the short term impacts you. In other words, seldom are people willing to make less of a sale or no sale at all because it's what they should do. It's the right thing. That person still has bills to pay. And I think that's just a difference of how the markets are set up. You know, again, there's no regulation with sales commissions. I mean, is there regulation on commissions and stuff like that with what you deal with?
Yeah, you know, so that's actually an industry that's very heavy regulated. The companies, you know, the products are regulated. How I get paid is regulated. So there is regulation. And what's crazy is that it's pretty fair, I think, you know, like depending on what a client of mine ends up doing, what it gets in my pocket, what it offers them. And like I said, to where I think it's very, you know, it's a very fair exchange, right, of the time it took me to gather all the information in order to help this customer, to you know, the money that I'm making out of it. So I think, like, you know, with capitalism as a whole, right, with kind of like with anything else, it starts off with good intentions, or like a lot of businesses.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah. So a lot of businesses start off with good intentions, and I can see where some businesses start off like that. And then, you know, one subject that we can veer off into plenty is how many maybe generations can a business keep its original like motto or mentality, right? Because if I start my business today with clients first, we'll take a small paycheck, or we'll take a small commission,
right,
if we're doing whatever's best for the customer. But the next guy after me, he cares about bottom lines. You know, maybe he's not hired, or I pass away, whatever the case may be. Now he cares about bottom lines, and he can make the company more money. while still helping customers, but then the guy after him, things like that.
And it's not always nefarious that it comes from, right? If it was a transference of the company, sometimes it's like you build this company up. I mean, I've seen companies go through this. I've been in companies within the 2008 recession, for example. And it's like everybody was doing good, and you had this surplus of employees that probably shouldn't have been there, but they were all able to make money in that economy. And then the economy changed, and you had all of these employees. I mean, I've seen a company that I was at had a $150,000 payroll a week just for the commission salesmen. So now you're at a point that these guys have been with you for 5-10 years, and they haven't earned the money because they're commissioned, because the economy's down. They might not be pushing as hard, and then it's sales guys getting their own minds. Well, do you not pay them, or do you pay them to keep them going? So now you're paying them, keeping them going, and you become what we call a white elephant hunter. You're hunting for that one job that's going to pay all your bills this week. And that might be a customer that's just not educated enough to know that they're overpaying for $30,000 for a product that they should be paying way less for, because that guy isn't trying to attack them, because sales guys can justify. We're justifiers. So it's like that person, and that's capitalism, still had the free will to purchase that product. They still made that decision to move forward. Right. So as a sales guy, you can, tell your soul inside, it's okay because they still bought off me. But deep down inside, you took advantage of them. Right. Deep down inside, you could have saved them money, and you didn't have to do that, but they want to preserve the company that they've built. And that's why when I set up my company, I said, there's no way I'm ever doing this. 100% of my people get paid off production. If they don't produce, they don't get paid. If they produce, why would I not want them to get paid? I want them to get paid as much as they want to get paid. I don't want to hold anybody back. But that way, if you come at time of recession or different, political, world problems going on, whatever's going on in the world, there's always an excuse. But you know what? The hustlers always make money. So it's like the more of your team that can produce and be paid off production. I mean, imagine if you took Walmart and you had those guys that stocked the back shelves, and you started paying them per box, saying you moved this many. I bet you all the time there would be some stock on the floor at Walmart. You would never have to wait, because there's people, the cream rises to the top, right?
Right. Yeah, no, I think, and that's both like a good thing and a bad thing, right? You put people in a position where they can, hustle and give themselves an opportunity. And again, where does that person even draw the line, right? Where they run into an opportunity to make, let's say, money off a customer who's not educated in a different industry, right? Not in your industry. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what it falls back on. A big thing that I harp on about of what we talk about is information. Yeah. Because not only is the customer, making a decision based on the information that's been presented to them prior to the salesman showing up and when the salesman is there, but also the salesmen themselves. I myself, in my experience, I can tell you that I believed in the product, right? I believed in the company. I believed what I was doing. So it was like I was kind of going out and taking advantage of people, and I didn't even realize it.
Right.
Right. So it's essentially, again, the mentality of the company at the top and the people making the decisions. And so, like I said, that's where when somebody, I see a video or something of somebody, a college student or somebody who's like, big business is bad, capitalism is bad, I can understand where they're coming from.
Sure.
Because at the root of it, I think, like I said, like you said, good intentions, but it doesn't take long for any business to lose
veer
its
off
way.
track and start going for the big money,
right?
To keep it going. And yeah, it is sad. I see that coming. Like, we talk about the window industry and your industry. I'm like, the solar industry right now. I just want to touch on that because I feel like that's how do I say this? I think that's an industry that should die. And it's not because I don't believe in solar. I believe in solar. I believe in electric. I believe in all that. Not saying everything should be that, because you still need gas power plants to make the solar panels, which is kind of funny. But from a government investment perspective, we're taking people's tax dollars and we're paying tax dollars for subsidies on solar for these solar reps that are going out. I mean, I hear of solar reps making $500,000, $600,000 a year. And they're knocking people's doors right now saying, you don't have solar. Solar could pay for itself, which is literally 10 years ago, the same thing. That might be the only regulation the wind industry ever had, is when we gave out 40% fuel pledge guarantees, guaranteed to save 40% off your heating and cooling bill, which was completely made up. And there was minimums. In any case, they're not allowed to do that now. That might be the only regulation. But the solar industry is taking these panels that cost $12,000, $14,000 and selling them for $75,000. And that salesman's pulling a $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 commission, which the sales guy's the least of the problem. It's the top of the pyramid. It's the owner at the top that's probably making $30,000, $25,000 per system, and the government is subsidizing that as they take these huge paychecks. Now, here's the thing. If they cared about energy, wouldn't they rather sell 5 systems at $14,000 than one system for $72,000? But it's the production, right? Because I thought about that when you said how it could lead to, how much do they want to produce, but production, if your cost on the product is the same, produce as much as you want. The production I have a problem with is when you increase the cost of the product 3 times, 4 times, 5 times of what it should be to make 5 amounts of, jobs on one person, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, man. So, yeah, and I think like the solar is a great example of kind of how the industries can start off with good intentions and become shady over time, just through the natural process, where one guy works at a company, learns enough about it to start doing his own thing, and, tries to make more money than the other company
does the same thing they were doing.
So you have these companies replicating themselves that are not keeping people's best interests at heart. And so, like I said, is a lot of things wrong with it, a lot of things good with it. One, I'll ask you this question, but I'll actually answer it right after I ask you, is what would you think is the proper way, right? In the ideal world for a company to operate. So I'll answer the question first, because I've thought about this, and it's like, I think it's fair. It costs a certain amount to live, right? It doesn't matter what country you live in. There's a cost of living, rent, groceries, things like that. And so, you account, okay, how much does a person need to live comfortably, get their basic needs and be able to go on vacation a couple times a year or buy the things that they need. Figure that out. Now you figure out how many people you need to operate your business, right? And then as long as the people that are running your business are making that money, and so is the owner, cap it right there, right? Like, why, if you want to make more money, see more clients, open up more businesses.
Produce more.
Right? But I think that is not the route most people take. So now, again, the question to you is, what do you think is would be the proper way for anybody who's thinking of eventually owning a business, right? How might they set it up on that side of things?
It depends on the business itself, right? I mean, I would say I definitely agree with you, and that's kind of like the sentiment of what I was saying before. You can sell 5 people and make a fair wage on 5 jobs, or you can sell that to one person and make 5 times the amount of profit. I agree with producing more, right? Helping more people. I mean, that's when I finally changed, and I went on to my concept with my company, is I stopped taking advantage of people because I realized what I was doing. And when I realized what I was doing, I literally biointensive rotational grazing of livestock. Joel Salatin, shout out. Which was completely different. I came from the city. I just wanted out of that industry that bad. And the more that I went through it in my head, I was able to figure out a path to create what I'm doing now, which is genuinely helping people. Being able to sit back and let that company have natural growth. When people are surprised that, their company's grown 10%, mine's grown by 40% a year on paper. And I can prove that. And it's nothing special, and I'm not special. It's because I'm selling a product at a fair price, and I'm actually giving them the value that I promise. And with that being said, everybody always wants to know a guy. Oh, I got a guy that can get you a better deal on a car. Oh, I got a guy that can buy you a roof. Oh, I got a guy, but the guy isn't really the best guy. It's just them knowing somebody. But when they put me or my company in front of other people, they're like proud to refer it.
Right.
Because they know it's something completely different. Get an industry that, you don't have to go against. Don't be afraid to define your own path. Don't stand and stay with an industry norm, because exactly what you said is right. A lot of these companies work for a company, learn the system, say, I can do this better. They start their own system, but it's still a catch prey system, if you will.
Yep.
So they're still just doing the same thing over and over and over again. I had this vision a long time ago, 10 years in the window industry. Windows should be sold online, eliminate the salesperson, homeimprovementeastore.com. Nobody's done it yet. They do it with cars,
Right.
but Carvana, they do jack their prices up. But eventually there's going to be a system that comes into place for cars. Eventually there's going to come a system that comes into place with solar. I think through social media, through videos, through people defining themselves and being able to put themselves in front of others, they can be seen through, right? There's a lot of window companies that I think of, Christian owners and stuff like that are the least Christian I know. And I'm not for one religion or another, but I have faith in a God. And I believe that do unto others as you do to you. And these Christians with these companies, they prey on people using, I'm a Christian, I'm doing good for you, and people believe them. So everything comes back to education. If somebody educates themselves about a purchase decision, don't take the salesman at his word. They go through training. Sales guys go through training every day. Customers don't go through training every day to say no to the salesperson. They believe them. They get wooed by them. So in answer to your question, I know it's kind of long, but just like I did, I would always replace myself out of the business. And it gets to a point that you replace yourself out of the business, and I'm not going to increase cost for nothing, for the bottom line. I mean, I'm in the process of taking myself out of my own business right now so I can focus on the fundamentals of the franchise so I can get that out to multiple people instead of just get fat and happy on my one company, which I could very easily do. But it's people knowing when to walk away. People, and I have never satisfied tattooed on the side of my leg, but there's levels to that. Never satisfied to what degree? Never satisfied that I'm going to take advantage of somebody to get satisfaction for myself, and that's the line I won't cross. I'm not going to put my needs in front of the needs of people because everybody's successful. And I've been talking to all my friends about this article that I saw about Richard Branson. And the sentiment of it was basically that don't do it for the money, do it for the people. And not even necessarily the customers, but the people from within your company. Because if you're dealing with smart, educated people that can see through lies, you'll know if you work for a bad company or not.
Right.
If you can't look at yourself in the mirror and genuinely tell yourself, if you're making 60,000, 40,000, 30,000 commission on these huge jobs that other companies don't take that much, you're ripping people off.
Yep.
It's the same thing if you went and you bought tires. You can see what tires cost online. If it was $1,000 for a set of 4 tires and a guy wanted to pull a commission, he charges you $2,500 because the information is easier to get online about what it should be, what it should cost. You'd be like, why are you overcharging me $1,500? But in the window side, in the home improvement side, that happens every day, and it's from a lack of education. So I guess people realizing that they're getting ripped off. I guess that's kind of why we're having the show too, is to kind of unveil and show people the truth about the industries so they can open their eyes and not live eyes wide shut.
Yeah, man, I think it's our job, man. I think it's our job as people who have the information, want to share, and, we're good people, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, because, part of this, it's not easy to set this stuff up. It's not cheap, so we've gone ahead to do it. To help people bring information. And like I said, part of why I feel like it's my job is because, we have had a lot of technology advances and a lot of things with the social medias and stuff to where I feel like we're, this generation where like we have access to information that our parents didn't. And
Right.
it was much easier for us to get it. So because it was much easier for us to get it, now it's like, okay, well, it's our job to take what we learned, put it back out there, right? If we feel like we can help people and somehow still help ourselves one way, shape, or form, right? So, yeah, man, like I said, I think that's a big thing is in any industry is good. What is good business? you know, who are what is working hard? When does working hard cross the line into taking advantage of people? You know, when is making a profit good? When does making a profit cross that line? And those are things that anybody's doing business, looking to start a business, should consider, needs to think about. You know, and if more people go into business with that kind of mindset, it's like, hey, when they go to make that decision, do I want to grow my business by simply producing more and helping more people, or by just offering a cheaper product or taking the advantage of people? If your easier choice is to take advantage of people, don't reach out to us. We'll come up with
Right.
a business idea
Right.
together. You know, um,
We want to be market disruptors. And
right?
that's the truth of it, because there's usually a better way to do something. And people
Yep.
just get too narrow-minded and too focused, and I get it. You know, sometimes there's a saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. Sometimes you got to back up and look at what you're really doing. I mean,
Yep.
I think that's a good way to wrap things up.
Yeah, man. Just real quick, like it's funny you mentioned that, because as I drive through Fredericksburg, man, I'm like, man, I got a bunch of my amigos around here, because how many Mexican restaurants you see in Fredericksburg? Are Mexican restaurants just that amazing and profitable and easy to run? No.
Right.
One guy did a Mexican
Restaurants are
restaurant.
very hard to
Another
run.
guy then learned that and
Yep.
decided to open up another one. Then someone else.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Hey, we did got the Cinco de Mayo. Had to touch up on the
Yeah.
Mexican restaurant. Shout out. But yeah, so you know, like I said, that's one thing where it's like, now those people that have opened those restaurants, they're probably very motivated. They probably have some financial assets, you know, or something they've done right to where they could potentially make a business that would help the world. But they don't have the information to do that, but they know their friend who opened up a Mexican
Right.
restaurant. So it's like, hey, now let's open up another one.
They just do what they know.
Right. So yeah, we're here to hopefully change a lot of that, disrupt some things, change some things around, and see if we can't, like I said, always help ourselves along the way. We're honest, right? We're looking to help other people, help ourselves, make the world a better place in the process. So get busier, man. Plan on seeing us around some more. Check in our stuff, our YouTube, social medias, Instagram, all that. And just stick with us. This was shot locally, Fredericksburg, Virginia. We're finishing the process of setting up some studio equipment, things that we'll be offering for rent and other services. So we got a whole production media team, big things coming, man. I'm excited to get
If
busy.
you want a podcast, if you ever thought about shooting a podcast, if you have a positive message that you want to put out, get in touch with us.